And welcome into the Gabe Show, featuring KC Sports Tonight, featuring Jared Koller. I am Jared Koller here on a Monday at KCTV5, where it's actually KC Sports Tonight, but Gabe is the staple. He is the glue of this show that keeps us together, and I'm fired up to bring him in on this Monday because, Gabe, we have so much to talk about, all right? You see the headlines on the side of your screen there. Isiah Pacheco, the injury and what that means and the ramifications of potentially bringing back one Kareem Hunt. How did the Chiefs evolve at running back in the near future? And the game as a whole, because it was a thriller of a Chiefs win over the Bengals on Sunday. Also, the Royals starting off a big homestand. I just got back from the K about 30 minutes ago, talking to Bobby Witt Jr., Michael Massey, Jared Koller, Matt Quintero, at Kauffman Stadium as they get ready to take the Tigers tonight, with a chance that, this coming weekend, if a lot goes right, they could clinch a postseason spot. So fun stuff there, and then we'll end the show talking about the weekend victories for the Missouri Tigers and Kansas State Wildcats. So a lot of local sports going on, and thankfully we have one of the brightest sports minds in all the land to break it down.
Wow.
And
High
Gabe
praise.
is also here. So,
wow.
Okay. There you go. Yeah, you see a
little 180 there.
Yeah, you didn't see that coming. For the record, sarcasm. Gabe knows more than I do. All right, let's start, though, with the news of the day, that is the Isiah Pacheco injury. Well, it was news yesterday because we knew he was hurt. We didn't know the severity of it. We saw him leaving Arrowhead with a limp on some crutches. So basically, Gabe, catch us up from then. What do we know about Isiah Pacheco?
Well, it was kind of like the supersonic speed version of bad news in comparison to the Hollywood Brown injury, where Hollywood Brown goes out of the first play of the preseason game. He walks off to the sideline. He doesn't stay down. You think, oh, okay, he got banged up. He's that's not great. Yeah. Then the Chiefs come back and they say, oh, well, he didn't need surgery. That's decent. And they say he's going to get back at this point. Then you come to this week and it's like, oh, well, actually it's going to need surgery, and now he's going to be missing most, if not all, of the regular season.
Yeah.
Pacheco gets hurt at the very end of one of the first plays of the final drive on Sunday against the Bengals. He hobbles off the field. Mere mortals would not do so when you break your fibula. I know certainly if it ever happened to me, I would not be hobbling off, and I certainly would not be jumping.
Tougher than Gabe Swartz.
Yes, okay, you can confirm that news. I also would not have been jumping up and down celebrating a Harrison Butker field goal if my
which he was
leg had that issue, and that's why people thought, the walking boot that he left the stadium in and the crutches that he was using was just precautionary stuff. Mm-hmm. I can say that from being in the locker room with Marlia yesterday after the game, it appeared as such that he was pretty emotionally distraught about what took place.
Yeah.
And several people were consoling him. So you knew it wasn't necessarily just the normal, oh, maybe he'll have a boot on and miss a couple practices and be back next Sunday against the Falcons. Now you find out, well, he's probably going to go on IR, and it's probably going to be 6 to 8 weeks is the expected news, according to Jeremy Fowler of ESPN. Could be longer. So that's where we land with the news of today, which is that Kareem Hunt is going to be in town tomorrow for a visit. And I'm curious what you think of that news, because 29-year-old running backs don't typically get most people excited.
No, and I don't know how much I've processed it. One, because we don't know that he's actually coming, but he's going to be in town, and I think that's an interesting wording in that they're not saying they're signing Kareem Hunt, they're just bringing him in town, which is common, but a lot of times we maybe don't hear about it until they sign. And so because there's obviously other factors than just the gameplay. Kareem Hunt is a former Chiefs running back who left not on his own terms. And so that's where I wonder if maybe they just want to talk to him first and resolve any past issues. I don't know. But the bar for contribution is not particularly high, and I don't think it's too high that he can't reach, because you see on your screen right there, the backups that are available for week 3 are rookie running back Carson Steele, who had a fumble against the Bengals and is unproven, and there's Isiah Pacheco, who wasn't even with the team in preseason. Would Kareem Hunt be an upgrade over those? I don't know, but it's not like there's not a path to playing time. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is eligible to return off injured reserve in week 5, and as you mentioned, Gabe, Isiah Pacheco might only be out 6 to 8 weeks. That's a long time. You need good running back play before he comes back. But the good news that I think is relevant is that it's not a season-ending injury. And there was earlier this morning when they were talking about oh, how is it? Like somebody said, oh, it's a broken leg. It's like, okay, it's not as bad as Hollywood Brown's. The hope is that he can be back 100% by the postseason, which I think is important to note. Now it's just about surviving without him.
Yeah, and I guess if he's going to miss 6 to 8 weeks, the fact that the Chiefs have an early bye this year and have the bye week in week 6 is helpful in that regard. And that's if he gets back on the speediest of timelines. Now, we've already seen, as shown by the Hollywood Brown situation, that the speediest of timelines is not always, it can be hoped for. It
hopefully
is not
6 to 8 weeks.
It's not always something that they end up with. But I would just say, I don't think Samaje Perine has a rush yet with the Chiefs. He's caught a couple passes, but
he's not been very. I mean, they've gone to Carson Steele more.
Yeah,
which surprised me.
And they even went to Carson Steele on several critical plays
with the game on the
yesterday when it was after his fumble. So
yes,
I think that's actually a pretty good sign in his regard of how much the coaching staff trust him or realizes how important he is in that. They went back to him after he made a mistake to kind of make sure that his confidence was not back, was not completely torn up by the fumble. And I think that is something that is interesting in comparison to maybe at left tackle with Kingsley getting benched. Are they willing to go right back to him next Sunday night against Atlanta? Because you would think that over the long period of time of the Chiefs figuring out a left tackle that you could hopefully pair with Patrick Mahomes for multiple years at a time rather than just go Orlando Brown, Donovan Smith, Wanye Morris for times, and Kingsley at times.
Even before that, I mean, Eric Fisher was a Super Bowl left tackle before that.
Yeah. And,
revolving door.
But like Eric Fisher had multiple years with Mahomes.
Right, but as far as they've had a different left tackle for each of their Super Bowls.
Yeah, exactly.
Super Bowl wins.
So
actually, Super Bowls, because the Bucs lost. They
started Mike Remmers at left
there
tackle.
You go.
Yeah, exactly. So they've been a revolving door at left tackle. And I think the hope is that, and that was the thing that Kingsley said in the locker room yesterday. He was mentioning he has to be better, but he also said Mahomes was telling him, like, you're the future of this program. And because of that, it's critical that this is not something that completely kills your confidence. Andy Reid said you have to take a step back to take a step forward sometimes. I'm interested to see if the step forward is playing on Sunday night.
Yeah, and that is a fascinating topic because it's one I didn't see coming, mainly because Kingsley was not really tested much in the preseason, which told me, wow, they think this guy is ready to roll from week 1, and there's no doubt that, maybe that was more an indictment on Wanye Morris, who battled injuries throughout training camp, but that was a legitimate competition entering training camp, and it was not a competition after week 1 of the preseason. And then to not even make it out of his second career start, and you benched him for the game, what would be the game-winning drive, stunned me. And yes, there's multiple factors involved. One, who gives you the best chance to win on that particular day? Are you sending a learning lesson? What value can he come from that moment, taking a step back? And also, how do you manage that in the future of the season, of the next 5 years? Because, if Kingsley can be their starting left tackle, on a second-round contract, that's incredibly valuable for the next few years. Like, they almost need that to happen when you're paying other guys a lot of money. And so I don't know if this is one they were particularly prepared for. And I don't think they know what they're doing in week 3. Andy Reid was asked that question today, like, hey, do you just go back to Kingsley Suamataia? Maybe they know, but I would imagine they're going to look at the tape more. They're going to look at practice. They're going to talk to the guys, and then, we'll see what they were all at Sunday. But that was an unexpected storyline. Like, I didn't think Kingsley Suamataia would be a Pro Bowl left tackle in year 1. But to the point where he's getting benched, that stunned me. And I think it was the right move because he was bad, Gabe, on Sunday, going up against Trey Hendrickson, who's really good. But he did not play the left tackle position well.
Yeah, I mean, it was certainly a tougher ask than most teams are going to give you to just be put on an island against a guy who was, I think, second in the league in sacks last year.
Sure.
But it's not like Wanye Morris came in and just, like, pitched a perfect inning in relief if to merge sports of analogies, because
he
had an illegal hands to the face.
No. 1 for 1 on running running routes and catching targets.
But that was when Kingsley was in, and he was playing tight end at that point.
Wanya Moore's penalty could have been extremely costly. I mean, it's
because if Mahomes doesn't roll out and find Rashee Rice for what either would have been a 30-yard catch or ended up being a defensive pass interference, a blatant defensive pass interference, then we're talking about the fact that left tackle was a disaster regardless of who was there.
I still think it was Wanya Morris was not like, he won the position, he should start.
But that's my whole thing is the whole conversation right now is centering around, Kingsley was awful. But if one play on 4th and 16 goes differently, the conversation is, do the Chiefs need to bring in somebody at left tackle? That's not the conversation really, even though it's
Donovan Smith, I don't know what he's doing if he's just like, all right, I don't want to play football anymore, which if so, great job going out, as a Super Bowl champ. But if he's willing to play and in shape, I know that would not make Kingsley happy, but this is not a season they can afford to have a bad left tackle, which I don't know if Kingsley will be a bad left tackle by the end of the season when it matters most, but I'm absolutely entertaining that right now if I'm the Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm just interested to see. I mean, if you looked at the passing chart yesterday, aside from the 44-yard pass to Rashee Rice, it was almost exclusively things at or behind the line of scrimmage.
Well, and guys also weren't really getting open. And listen, I hate the Bengals, all right, because the Chiefs are not good against the Bengals, especially on offense. Like, for whatever reason, some of the worst play I've ever seen of Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Andy Reid comes against the stinking Bengals and Lou Anarumo, the defensive coordinator. So I don't want to be too harsh in a game that clearly it's a bad matchup, okay?
Yeah.
So I'm not saying the offense is going to be bad all year. I don't think the offense will. I think the offense is going to explode on Sunday night against the Atlanta Falcons. But if you're looking for upgrades and if you see enough flaws in Kingsley Suamataia to bench him with the game on the line, I don't know how confident you can be heading into a postseason with him when you're going to fit. Yes, Trey Hendrickson's really good. Does every team have a pass rusher like him? No. But in the postseason, you're going to face teams with good pass rushes, and they can't afford to have a bad left tackle.
Yeah,
so,
I would just say that
it's a big topic.
Last year, Rashee Rice was a second-round pick, and
he got better.
I know that he was not asked to do the same things, but if you had asked Rashee Rice to be the wide receiver 1 in week 2 and thrown him the passes 11 times in a game, it probably wouldn't have gone great. And I know that that's not necessarily putting Patrick Mahomes' blindside at risk.
That's an interesting argument, though.
But it's just a matter of, like, there were people who thought when Kingsley got picked, they could have picked him at 32, and people would have felt fine with it.
Well, now we're
so
seeing
I think pulling the plug on it after 2 games would be a little bit insane.
I agree, unless I just go back to the fact that if he didn't get benched, I wouldn't be sitting here saying go sign Donovan Smith or put in Wanya Morris. It's just the fact that they thought it got to a level that was so bad that they were like, we got to get him out of there. That's legit. Like, in a big game, and that they, now, well, listen, I'm very negative on this Monday. I did not see how bad the offense was going to play coming. I really didn't. And in hindsight, I will never think that the Chiefs are just going to roll the Bengals until they do. But it's a game they really needed to win because they are 2-0, barely. And I think the 2 wins now look better because the offense is going to be out without Hollywood Brown and Isiah Pacheco for a while. And it's good to have this banked because now some of your other games that you thought might be wins might not be. I mean, the Chargers are 2-0, haven't played anybody, but that week 4 is going to be a real test. The Saints don't look like an easy team after they roll the Cowboys, and now you're without 2 of your heading into the season top. Some would argue 2 of your top 3 offensive players. I would argue 2 of the top 4, maybe even 2 of the top 5. But it's going to get harder, and so the fact that they banked 2 wins, Gabe, is incredible. And that's why I think the Chiefs fans should actually be very happy right now that they are 2-0, despite earning a grand total of 0 style points. That's not true. The Wanya Morris touchdown was that accounts for something. But they're 2-0, Gabe, and it's thanks, in my opinion, there's a number one guy, and then there's a big gap. Do you know who I'm talking about? Number one, why they're 2-0? Who's getting the most flowers from me today?
I'm interested to hear this.
Harrison Butker.
Oh, okay.
I mean, this is ridiculous, Gabe. It was so they were so confident that he would come through in the clutch that they get to the set up a 51-yard field goal, and they're like, "No, we don't want to go any closer." Like what? Like we are content, and it was the right call, it was the right move, and he kicked it right down the middle. It blew like. I've seen Harrison Butker make clutch kick after clutch kick after clutch kick. From his rookie year, his very first game winner against Washington, he's done it consistently. But in the moment, I'm like, can we not get a couple more yards? Like if a gust of wind comes out, it's like, this is insane confidence. And they're like, no, we've got one of the best to ever do it. And it was a massive kick to win a game that they're going to be very glad, if anything, to have a 2-game advantage in the tiebreaker over the Bengals and Ravens.
Yeah, and statistically, the percentage of teams that make the NFL playoffs starting 0-2 is like somewhere between 5 and 9%. So the math would just tell you that either Baltimore or Cincinnati is going to miss the playoffs. It's unlikely that both of them make it. I would say that the rest of the AFC, specifically how poor like the AFC South looks, and how poor
and
the Broncos
teams,
look.
Like a lot of those stats probably come with 6 teams, so now it's 7.
Yes.
But nonetheless, they're going to have to fight harder.
Baltimore plays
than the Chiefs.
at Dallas next week, and I know Dallas got rolled by New Orleans.
No, Dallas is a good team, yes. But
that's 0-3 is possible.
Sure.
So I think that, yes, it's critical that they have 2-0, a 2-0 spot with 2-0 against AFC teams. And that's why I don't think that Chiefs fans have to feel bad about the way that things went. Winning when you have a C- game is something that college teams get away with. It's not something that pro teams get away with. And that's except for the Chiefs. And that's why people nationwide are like, the Chiefs are inevitable.
I know.
Because
they did it last year at times. They've really done it for the past couple seasons.
But last year it was like, whether it looked like the Lions game, the Packers game, the Bills game, every time that the Chiefs needed one of those late game scoring drives, it was just weird things happened and it didn't go their way. Weird things happened and it didn't go their way, with the illegal hands to the face wiping away a 25-yard gain after Mahomes scrambles and finds things. Right. And then he converts on 4th and 16 with the pass that it just would have been a 30-yard gain and just a cleared DPI.
No, I mean just a weird game. I mean, Wanya Morris's touchdown pass has Rasheed Rice getting a 44-yard touchdown that had the most air yards on a Patrick Mahomes touchdown in 2 years. Mm-hmm. So that was actually really good to see. And it was a great throw by Mahomes, who did not have a great day, but that throw was money. Chamari Connor scored the touchdown off a Chris Jones pass rush where Joe Burrow had taken one step and Jones had already beaten his man up the middle. And it's like, I don't know when Chris Jones will fall off, but right now that contract is worth every penny. Same with Harrison Butker, his contract worth every penny. And Chamari Connor also played well. He had a sack too, so he played great. Trent McDuffie played great, shutting down Jamar Chase. I also want to say, if you were looking at your screen and saw that Harrison Butker's name was spelled Harrison Butter with 2 T's instead of a K, that was my doing, not Gabe. All right, I know I just said I want to give Harrison Butker his flowers. I did not do that on purpose. Thankfully, you can now see that it's spelled right. That was my bad. No offense to Mr. Harrison Butker or Harrison Butter. Okay, a lot of Chiefs still to talk about all week. We could spend hours doing this, but I do want to quickly get in a handful of topics, starting with the Royals, who have a big game tonight, Gabe. First pitch, 6:40, Seth Lugo taking on the Detroit Tigers. Your boys in blue have won 7 of the last 10 games, Gabe. And even a couple of those losses were winnable. They have regained the momentum coming off that Vinny Pasquantino injury, and now they're in for the postseason push, really.
Magic number to clinch a playoff spot is at 8?
8.
Yes, going into the week. So with a little bit of help and some good play, this weekend could be champagne time in the Royals clubhouse.
Friday. Earliest is Friday.
I will be at the K on Saturday. So
there you go. Because the team closest to them is the Detroit Tigers, who they play tonight through Wednesday. And so if they sweep the Tigers, well, then that magic number drops drastically. But then in that case, you would also need the Mariners to lose some because they're tied with the Tigers, maybe even the Red Sox. So, but it very well could get wrapped up this weekend. And Gabe, I'd much rather have a home celebration where the fans can, celebrate this accomplishment than having it in Washington where the Royals play. If you don't know, Tigers this week off Thursday, San Francisco Giants in town Friday through Sunday. That'd also be nice to clinch against the Giants 10 years after they clinched at your ballpark, right?
That's would be a little closing of the book.
Sure,
there.
Some nice poetry, some nice nice symbolic nature. Then they go to Washington in the season at the Atlanta Braves. They could clinch this week, but all signs point that they're really going to be playing up until the final weekend, whether that's to clinch a postseason spot or clinch the division potentially. They're 4 back of the Cleveland Guardians, but also wild card seeding. They're only 2 games back of the Baltimore Orioles. That's really 3 because they don't have the tiebreaker over Baltimore. But nonetheless, Gabe, it's looking like we are headed for a blue October as the Royals sit at 80. Man, another mistake by Jared. All right, you know what?
Is it 82 and 68?
82 and 68.
Wow,
there we
Jared,
go.
you're
this is
discrediting the boys in blue.
I know. I'm either way.
You're not somebody who typically does that.
I was negative about the Chiefs. Now I'm discrediting the Royals. Monday, Jared is different. No, this mark is their second best record in the last 35 years, and they have that cushion for the wild card spot. That barring a major collapse, they're headed for the third postseason in the last 39 years, Gabe.
And what do we know about Royals playoff appearances? If they make the playoffs,
all I know is happiness.
They go to the World
Series.
Series.
Madison Bumgarner isn't on the mound. It wasn't even like the Giants beat the Royals. It was literally one dude beat the Royals that year. It's why Royals fans, I don't know how expensive playoff tickets will be. I don't know how in demand they'll be. And I don't know if they're going to host a home playoff game. There's if they go to the wild card series is a 3-game series at one park. So if they're the 5 or 6 seed, they would have to win that series to host a playoff game. So if you want to say thank you to the boys in blue for turning in what would be the third best season in the last 39 years, head on out to the K tonight, tomorrow, and Wednesday. They are not expecting big crowds. So, Gabe, this is Royals fans' final chance to see the boys in blue in person, one of the better teams that we've seen in a long time.
Guaranteed final chance, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes,
dare I say, 12 games to go, a 90-win season, or flirting with it, is still a possibility, which is insanity
we need
to
go
me.
8-4.
But even if they get to the wild card series, having the 1-2-3 of Reagan's, Lugo, Waka sets you up for a chance. And I think that given the way that those guys have pitched, and even the 4 and 5 spot, whether it's Singer, whether it's Lugo, or whether it's Lorenzen, Marsh, to go to the pen and have those guys, I think that things are getting a little more clear in terms of what the postseason roster can look like.
Yeah. It's really only the last. I think, especially with the way, and Jared Koller talked about it today, how like Carlos Hernandez and Daniel Lynch have pitched their way onto a postseason roster. When you factor in those guys, there's really one spot remaining, whether it is Hunter Harvey, James MacArthur, Angel Zerpa, or Will Smith, or Chris Stratton. 5 guys I count for one final pitching spot. And all 5 of those guys have not been good for a decent amount of this season. They've had their moments at times, but I don't know any of those. And honestly, I don't know if any of those guys would even pitch in the postseason.
Yeah, they would just be on the roster.
So I think the postseason roster, and then same with the lineup. With Vinny out, I think it's either Adam Frazier or Garrett Hampson is the final spot. But Adam Frazier tonight's making his 5th consecutive start. So I don't know if that means he's now going to be getting every day. But he's hit well.
They have figured out a little bit more of a concrete lineup of like Tommy Pham is the leadoff guy now. They've got Salvi in there at 3, slotted in behind Bobby, and for the most part, when he's in the lineup, MJ Melendez is hitting 5th now.
Michael Massey hitting up there as well.
So it felt to me like they were consistently putting together competitive at-bats against Pittsburgh all weekend.
Yeah, I just couldn't drive in any runners on Sunday. That was a frustrating one and Tommy Pham got thrown out on a sac fly to like deep right. Now it was an incredible throw, but I'm like, okay, Pham's maybe not as fast as I thought. That was a bit. When you lose by 1, and you leave 10 runners on. It is a frustrating loss
Yeah.
when every win really does matter. Because at that point, then they'd be one back of the Orioles for the top wild card spot. So, tough Sunday, but still, it was a great week, I think, to go 3-3 at New York, at Pittsburgh. Playing on the road is tougher than playing at home, even if one of those teams isn't a great team by any means. And so now they have a chance to really do well at home for this final series. And so, Royals fans, I encourage you to get out to the K. And today, one of the main takeaways from me talking with them is they are not thinking about the postseason at all, especially getting set up for who's pitching when. That was something Neil Jones was adamant about this week. And he's like, no, they want to clinch it ASAP so they can set the rotation. One, I don't think they're thinking like that. And two, I don't know how much they need to because their top three are so good. I think it's definitely Cole Reagans 1, and then Seth Lugo, Michael Wacha. Maybe Michael Wacha number 2. So I would, in a winner-take-all game, rather Cole Reagans. But I don't think it's to the degree that, you got to really get creative. I think you just stay in your rotation. You have that off day on Monday for playing the wild card on Tuesday. And if Michael Wacha starts on that Tuesday because you started Cole Reagans on Sunday and then Reagans pitches game 2 or something, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Yes, I'd like to set up, but I don't think it's if they don't, they're toast.
No, I don't think so either. And you've seen that they've shifted things around at times this year. So.
And the bullpen has a chance to be a lot better when you add in Brady Singer, Alec Marsh, and Michael Lorenz into the back end. All right, real quick, Gabe, let's get your final thoughts on a victory for Mizzou football this weekend. They beat Boston College. You'll notice numbers. When they beat them, they were the 6th-ranked team in the country. But beating a top 25 team is not valuable in the eyes of the AP voters because they dropped them to number 7, swapping them with Tennessee, who beat powerhouse Kent State by
71.
Right, by 71. So that's where you get the conflicting deals. Same with Kansas State. They also beat a top 20 team in Arizona, but that was they beat them even more handily, and so that moved them up to number 13. So outside of your Arizona State team getting a nice victory and starting the season hot as a new member of the Big 12, what are your thoughts on Mizzou and then Kansas State?
I would say Saturday was closer than I thought it'd be in Columbia.
But did you ever think they were in danger of losing?
No.
Okay.
No, I didn't. I just was. It
was closer than
I think they answered well, considering that they were down early, and gave up their first points of the year. So
down 14-3 at one point.
Yeah. So I thought that was good. I watched a lot of K-State Arizona on Friday night, and I say this as a completely unbiased.
As an Arizona hater.
Arizona State alum.
Oh, okay.
Arizona is not as good as people think they are.
Yeah.
They, offensively, if they're not throwing the ball to T-Mac, Tetaroa, McMillan, the offense is just non-existent for them. And then
showed. I mean,
K-State-wise, I'm just incredibly impressed that year after year after year, they just make special teams plays. I think the stat was 62 punt or kick return touchdowns since 05. And
it's most in all of FBS. Dylan Edwards
an absurd
with the punt
amount.
Return, the Wichita native, and that was his first touchdown as a Wildcat. And also, shout out to all the Wildcat fans that were there, Gabe. It was a raucous atmosphere for a Friday night, which they always have great home support. But Chris Kleiman says he thinks that was maybe the loudest he's ever heard the bell, which is high praise for a game that wasn't, Arizona's not a rival of Kansas State, So for the Wildcat fans to really pack the house there and make their presence known, I think was good. And for Mizzou, another sellout in Columbia. That atmosphere was awesome. And for Mizzou, they I think they needed to win this game, and it was a game they easily could have lost. Boston College is a bad team. They're well coached, but their stars were stars when it mattered most. Brady Cook was good all around and had that great touchdown run. Luther Burden really stepped up, had a couple nice plays, and the defense forced turnovers. And their kicker, Blake Craig, money. I mean, Neil Jones was like, I keep seeing him, and I think of Harrison Mevis. And I'm like, no. This guy has a chance to be Harrison Mevis level of good if he's a true freshman doing this, and he's from the great school of Liberty North.
Yeah, SEC Special Teams Player of the Week.
Just as Dylan Edwards, Special Teams Player of the Week for the Big 12. Mm-hmm. So local products are special is my takeaway there. Next up, Mizzou has another chance to beat a Vanderbilt team who we thought was better than expected, and then they go out and lose to
Vandy